10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Discussing everything about the afterlife and spirit world. Coming to you all the way from Ireland. It's Sandie Byrne.
Hey guys, welcome to Tipperary for another episode of Life After Life. How is everybody keeping? And for those of you who are in Ireland, tell me, did you survive Storm Barra over the last couple of days? I'm in Tipperary, so we were very well. It depends who you ask in my house. Have we been lucky or unlucky? Because my 13-year-old thinks he was very unlucky that the schools in Tipperary didn't close because Barra kind of went above us and below us, but didn't really hit Tipperary too badly. Now, we did have strong winds and rain last night, but I'm not aware of anybody having lost any trampolines or bins or anything like that. Hey, Rita from Waterford. Hey, Carrie. Glad to have. Well, it would take strong wind now to blow me away, Carrie, I have to say. But it did take me a long, long time to get to sleep last night. I was awake till about half four this morning, because my two cats were petrified at the sound of the wind outside. So I had one under the duvet shivering beside me, and the other one was out in my son's room curled up to him. So she kept him awake as well, half the night. So yeah, so I'm not used to sleeping with a cat shaking in the bed beside me. But once he got very comfortable and warm, he went off to sleep. But he's normally we kind of say that our cat is like, I don't know if anybody has kids and has ever watched Phineas and Ferb, but we call our cat the platypus, so we reckon he has a secret life. Hey, Purple Joe, all good in Westmeath. So you weren't too bad. Fierce wind, yeah. So I think it really was only Cork, Kerry, and a bit of Clare that got the worst of it. Probably Donegal. Poor Donegal gets the worst of everything. So it's lovely to have so many people on tonight, okay? And I think we're all sick of hearing about both Storm Barra and the V word, which I'm not going to say, or the C acronym, which I'm not going to mention either. So hello from Liverpool. Hey, Tarna. Thanks for joining in. Hiya, I'm here now. What's your name? I can't call you FSFNUSAS. So yeah, so tell me or try and have your name. I was out delivering milk in it in Waterford during the night. Oh Lord. That was that do you know what? I'm not the kind of person that was born to do night shifts or early mornings. Okay. I just would not be able to do a job like that. So fair play to you, because I do appreciate people that get out and do it. And you know what? I wish that we could have milk delivered here, even though I'm dairy free, but we do use a lot of milk in our house. And where I built my house, when I say I didn't physically build my house, but where we built our house is just across down a laneway from where my grandparents used to live. And I was talking to my sons about it the other day. We were driving home, and I can remember at my grandmother's house, on each pier she had a box. So on one pier she used to get fresh warm bread delivered every single morning, and fresh milk then into the other box on the other pier. Every single morning, if I was staying there, we'd go out and get nice warm bread and fresh milk and have the most delicious breakfast. Oh, God be with the days. Taryn is a night shift worker. I don't know how you do it. And welcome, Kira May. Sorry, I didn't know it was you. Hey, Paula. Hey, Patricia. So tonight, and I am going to be drinking a lot, sorry, when I'm talking. I have been on medication. It's a herbal medication, but one of the side effects is that I'm consistently thirsty, and I'm drinking water. I have a liter bottle here, and I must go through 5 or 6 of them every single day. I'm so thirsty all of the time. So I definitely can't go on like this. I'll be up all night. So there we go. So I'll be sipping away all night, well, for the next while that I'm on anyway. So what I wanted to talk about tonight, or to start with anyway, And like, guys, I want this to be a conversation. So if you want to ask something or add something to what I'm talking about, you can request. If you're on the Podbean app, if you're listening through a link, you probably won't be able to join the chat. You'll have to come in through the app. But if you're on the app, you should be able to request to come on as a speaker. And, you can join in the conversation. So I can have another 7 people on at any one time. So you're more than welcome to come in and join in the conversation. Okay. So as I said, okay, so a gift or an ability is mediumship. So I put it here in the chat. Is mediumship a gift or an ability? And what do you reckon, guys? What would be your opinion on it? Because everyone says to me, oh, you have an amazing gift. Aren't you so lucky you're gifted? You should share this gift. Haley says it's a gift, and I appreciate that you would think that, Haley. Patricia, Carrie says it's both. Well, it's probably Abby IL, and I have ability spelled wrong. I just noticed it there. Sorry about that. It's probably more than just a gift or an ability. It's probably a pain in the BOT tum a lot of the time as well. Well done to the students on Thursday night. Well done to all. Hey, Mary. So Mary's referring to, and thank you so much for that. And I did pass on your comments. I've just finished teaching a group of what I call baby mediums. So I was teaching people how to do mediumship. And I looked for volunteers for my private group on Facebook to come on and let them practice on them. So basically get a free reading for what their ability stretched to. And Mary was one of my volunteers, and they did an amazing job. And they're so, so good. After just 8 weeks, they were given such clear evidence, and I loved it. And thank you, Mary, for being such a good sport on that as well. So everyone's saying definitely it's a gift, and I would disagree, Okay. Hi, Martina. Tarna is just my meals. I'm on the pod. I think it's a gift, but I think it's good to sit in a group to develop it. I agree. And Carrie's sister was also a volunteer, and she was very impressed. Thank you so much, Carrie, for saying that. And I will definitely pass that on, because they were so nervous about reading strangers, because they'd practiced on themselves for weeks and weeks and practiced on me. And so I just brought people on and let them practice. And it's a really good, it's kind of a baptism of fire, but it was really good for them. And also, hopefully, for the volunteers, that they got a short reading for free. Okay. So, as I was saying, I don't agree that mediumship is a gift. I do appreciate that people think it's a gift, and it's a lovely gesture, for people to tell me that I have a gift. But in actual fact, I believe it's an ability. Okay. So, I'll come back to that question now in a second. So why do I think it's an ability? The reason I think it's more of an ability than a gift is because everybody can do it. Okay. There isn't anybody on this earth that doesn't have the ability to connect with the spirit world. The only difference between you and I is that I have developed it. Luckily for me, I have a family that's very mediumistic. Okay. So people that have followed me for some time will know that both my grandmother and my great grandmother were both mediums. And I don't know what I've done with the link now. Here we go. Sorry, I closed you down there for a little while. My grandmother and my great grandmother and my great great grandmother, and going back through the family, they were all mediums. Okay. So when I was little and I was talking about being able to see people and being able to hear people and talking about the people that were in the room, my mother, my grandmother, they weren't a bit phased by it. And they weren't telling me, to be quiet, or it's only your imagination, or it's an imaginary friend or anything. So they were, they knew what I was talking about. Okay. Now, I wouldn't say they encouraged it, because I never tell anybody to encourage their kids to talk about it. I say, don't discourage them. Don't tell them to, be quiet, or they're imagining it when they do talk about it. But, if you're going to encourage a child to do something, they're going to do it because they want to be good. So they let me do it in my own time as I as I kind of saw different people and felt different things, I used to always say it. So they were able to help me with that. And I understand that not everybody has that growing up. And, I was just saying over on my TikTok there that, I grew up in Thurles in Tipperary. And when I was growing up, it's not there anymore. It's actually a teacher training college now, but there used to be a college there, and it was where they trained all the priests. So every single morning I would be walking to my convent school, and there would be hundreds of priests, student priests, processing across the street from the college to the cathedral. Okay. And it was a very, well, Ireland was a very Catholic island, wasn't it? At that point. And you wouldn't really say to somebody, I see dead people. It just wasn't done. So you didn't say it out and about. Now, my great grandmother, she used to do readings for people. Okay. My poor great grandmother, she used to, they had no phone or anything. She had a little cottage in a place called Dundrum in County Tipperary. And people used to come. She used to open her house on a Thursday and a Friday for people for readings. And people used to queue outside her cottage from 6 o'clock in the morning. And literally, like, there just used to be a long queue, because my mother told me that she used to go and stay with her nan every summer. And she said every Thursday and Friday there'd be people queued up. They'd wake up in the morning and open the curtains, and there'd be people queued outside. So she used to read palms, and she used to give spirit readings as well. So so I suppose I am lucky in the fact that it came down through the family. But I do know, and from teaching mediumship over this last couple of years, and just my experience with people, it's actually not that special. I'm not any different to anybody else. I've just learned to use my ability. So mediumship is akin to singing, really. Okay. I mean, let's face it, we all can sing. You definitely do not want to hear me sing. Okay. I'm not a good singer. However, if I decided to, I could go and take singing lessons, and I could improve my singing ability. Okay. Think of mediumship in the same way, like a skill. Exactly. It is a skill that can be learned. Okay. Now, I suppose I'd call it an ability because the ability to connect is within us all. So to say that it's a skill would be akin to say, that it's like carpentry, where you have to learn it from the start. Nobody has to learn it from the start, because every single one of us are getting signs from spirit every single day, but we just don't know how to recognize them. Okay, so it's learning how to recognize them, learning how spirits come through, what kind of messages they can give us, what kind of information they can give us. How can they tell us different things? How can we recognize the signs? So, this is the type of thing that I would teach when I'm teaching mediumship. And this is the kind of thing that people, they need to learn, need to practice. Okay. So, for example, Teresa here is saying that she was told she was very psychic by a medium one time. Okay. So, and I suppose I should start at the beginning and ask people, do they know the difference between a psychic and a medium? Because they're very different things. And there are confusing things out there. Like, I love Sally Morgan. Does anybody know Sally Morgan? Or has anybody heard of Sally Morgan? She calls herself Psychic Sally, and she'd be on the telly. I love Psychic Sally. I love her to bits and pieces. And even when my niece was over in Australia, and it was her birthday, and Sally was on in her city, she was on in Perth, and I bought her tickets to go and see Psychic Sally in Perth in Australia. I love Sally so much, and I saw her in Dublin a couple of times. Actually, I went to see her in Dublin, and I just love her. I love the way that she is with people. I love her demeanor. I love how she brings the messages across to people. I just can't speak highly enough about her. But she may be psychic, but what she does when she's on stage isn't psychic. It's mediumship. Okay. So here's the difference. A psychic is someone who reads the energy of the living, and a medium is someone who reads the energy of the dead. Okay. So a psychic would read you. Okay. A psychic reads the living. A psychic would read you. What's going on in life? What's coming up in the future? Okay. Everything. They're reading the energy around you. They're telling you what's on your path. Okay. Coming up. The medium just talks to dead people. Okay. I say just, and I use that in I don't know, I suppose maybe a cheeky way, but I say just because I say someone who is only a medium. Because when you say just, it makes it sound so small, but it's such a huge thing. Okay. When someone's only a medium, that means they only connect with people in spirit. Okay. So they don't necessarily do the psychic work when you go to see them. Okay. And then the psychics would read you, but not necessarily connect to spirit. They'd be more connected with your spirit guides and reading your energy. And then the psychic mediums do both. Okay. So they are very different things. So I would just say to people, because Psychic Sally, I suppose she probably uses that name because Psychic Sally, it goes together. It sounds catchy. Medium Sally doesn't sound as catchy. Okay, but I do believe that Sally is psychic also, but I know it's not what she does on stage. So Tana's saying, I know what you mean. It is something that people can learn. Just need to tune into spirit. Yes, my mum is a spiritualist medium as well. It's just always something that's been around me. I do give messages to people as well. Boom, that's exactly it, Martina. Okay. And do continue to use it. And I know because I'm probably older than you, maybe just by 2 or 3 years. But when I was younger, as I was saying, people in I can't speak for all of Ireland, but I know people in Thurles weren't necessarily as open to mediumship. So when I was, around people and maybe at work and stuff like that, I had a cup of tea thrown on me at work once because I started to talk to somebody about a spirit that I felt around them. So when you watch people, I also love Teresa Caputo. I don't know if anybody here has heard of Teresa Caputo. She's an American medium. She's called the Long Island Medium, and I love her. Okay, I love watching her shows. And when she's walking around and she could be in a supermarket or getting her dog groomed or whatever, and she's reading people, okay, you can't do that in Ireland because people aren't as open to it. They're not ready for someone to just walk up to them in the street and say, um, I feel so and so around you. And I've done it several times. Like I was getting my hair done in a hairdresser's a few years ago. And I started to talk to the hairdresser and I said, do you know this man? And he says he's this person and he's this and he's this and he's this. And she was just like, and I could see in the mirror, her mouth was just like wide open. And she said to me, I know exactly who you're talking about, but he's not dead. And I said, well, that's really strange because he's here and he's talking to me. And she said, but he was taken to hospital last night, so I'm not really sure. He was an elderly man. And I think he'd fallen off his bicycle or something. I can't remember now. It's a few years ago. But she actually rang me because he did pass away that evening. So when I was connecting with him, he was kind of in a between state. Okay. He was neither dead nor alive, if that makes sense. He was kind of on the cusp of the two worlds, but I connected with him. Another time I was in actually, it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I was doing up my living room and I was buying some granite for around the fireplace. And I started to talk to a lady in the showroom and I was asking her about the man that was around her and all this. Well, it only turned out that it was her husband who had passed away quite young. Okay. So, and I wouldn't say necessarily that she was, not willing to take it, but it was a huge surprise. And she kind of said, okay, I don't want to hear anymore. Okay. Because it just kind of took her by surprise. So, I have in different times maybe tried some things, not intentionally. I never wanted to be Teresa Caputo. I think she's amazing and I don't think anybody could be Teresa Caputo. But I do love to watch her show. But my point is that people in Ireland aren't necessarily open to receiving mediumship like that. Okay. Um Oh, I'm 51, a mum from Limerick. Oh, sorry, Tarna, you're actually older than I am. I feel good now. No, I haven't hit the big 50 yet. I'm 47. If hearing things like hearing someone say hello but no one is there, is that a sign of mediumship? Well, obviously, I'm not sure what your name is. It's just a random username, but I don't experience everything that people experience. Okay, but if you hear someone, I would say more so now, I'm not saying that what you received isn't mediumship. Okay. It could absolutely be clairaudience. Okay. But I can't say that to you because I didn't experience it. So I would say to you, go back, I think episode 2 or 3, I went through all the different modalities, the clairaudience, clairsentience, clairgausiance, clairvoyance, and what they mean. Okay, so clairaudience in short, clair means clear, audience means hearing. So a clairaudient is someone who hears spirit, okay? And so when I think that I'm hearing a spirit, I will ask them to call my name, okay? And then I will know. Now, when I ask them to call my name, I don't always say out loud, call my name, because spirits don't have to hear you say it out loud because they know what's going on in your head. They can mind read a little bit, okay? So it's like I was saying to somebody the other day, towards, we had an Indian summer here in Ireland and it was beautiful. And right up nearly until October, even into the first weeks of October. And I had the windows open here in my office one day, and a butterfly flew in and landed on the wall opposite me. So it was coming up to a loved one's birthday, and we'd been talking about him earlier that day. And I said, well, Kevin, I said, if that's you, I said, and I said this in my head, I said, if that's you, I said, come and sit on the wall here behind me. And at that second, the butterfly flew from the wall, came up over to me, flew once around my head, and then landed on the wall right behind my head. Okay. So I knew then that this was a sign from him, that he's around. I suppose coming up to his birthday, maybe I was supposed to bring him flowers or something, I'm not sure. But so my point to you is that if you had felt that there was somebody around, if you have felt that maybe there was somebody around, maybe it was coming up to a special date, maybe you'd been talking about someone or thinking a lot about someone, and then you heard someone saying hello to you, well, then I would say definitely that's mediumship. But you can increase what you're getting from them by asking them more. So when you hear the hello and there's nobody there, then you would think in your head, okay, well, if that's someone trying to connect with me from the spirit world, say my name. Okay, because unlike me here reading your username, KDZARXXN, I don't know your name, so I can't read your mind. Okay, so but spirit can. Okay, Carrie's saying, yeah, especially for her accent. I love that New York accent. I love the cheeky way she comes across. I just love her. And I think she's got the cutest little pixie face. I'd say she's tiny. Now, I never got to see her live. I would love, hopefully someday, we'll be able to travel freely and go to things again. And I would definitely go to her show. People in Ireland would hate you if you did that. Maggie, thank you. And they do, and as I said, somebody in a workplace threw a cup of tea over me at work because I think it was the shock, that she wasn't expecting it. But I suppose I should just keep my mouth shut. And that's kind of what I started doing. So it's funny, like, I don't travel around so much anymore, but I used to travel a lot, all around Ireland and Canada and the States and the Netherlands and all. And so when I'd be checking into a hotel, and I'd always have a room booked to do a show in or to do readings in, whatever. So they'd always go to me, oh, do you see anybody around me? Is there anybody with me and stuff? And so I learned not, even if I did feel somebody around people, because of the way the Irish people have always reacted, I've learned not to come out and say it, So I suppose it did curtail my mediumship a bit. And I make no secret of the fact that I do struggle with PTSD still. So I get very intimidated by people. Okay. So like recently I was doing a reading for somebody, or trying to, I should say. And the first 2 people that came through in this reading, the person just said to me, don't want to talk to them, don't want to talk to them. And even though I did get the person that she wanted to connect with through, by that stage, my confidence was gone and I couldn't talk to him because I kind of got nervous. Does that make sense to people? I know it sounds like I'm a bit of a flake, but if I get overly intimidated by people, then I can't work. And I think that's why online readings work better for me. Okay. And it's not that I don't like people, it's not that at all. And people are genuinely eager and looking to, connected to particular people. And I know this girl didn't mean anything by it. It wasn't necessarily that she didn't want to talk to these people, but there was one person in particular that she had on her mind. So therefore, she didn't want the other people taking up her time and energy. But for me, when she said no, it just closed down my energy. So I shut down. So that's because of the way people treated me when I was growing up. People, not my family, but other people, if I said that I saw somebody or that somebody was there or that somebody told me to give them this message, they'd all say, your child, has mental illness, or your child is schizophrenic, or your child has imaginary friends, they'd all be on like this. So I learned to shut my mouth. So, I would have loved maybe if I'd grown up in an environment like, New York, where people were much more open. And I do find, when I travel over there and do readings, people are much more open for it. But I don't know will I ever be able to travel again, but we'll have to wait and see. But I would love to get back over to the States. I have a lot of shopping that I need to do apart from anything else. Hey Patricia, hey Helen, how are things? I would love if someone came up to me and told me something like that. People in Ireland aren't very open to spirituality. Yeah, I do agree. Now, that said, over the last 10 years, there has been a huge shift. Okay, and people are getting closer. And I do believe, and someone was asking me there on TikTok not long before I came on here, do I believe in, now she referred to it as the 5D, or the new consciousness. So I do believe that people's awareness is, becoming more open. And I don't know if anybody here has ever heard of Dolores Cannon. Okay, so she passed away a few years ago, but she was a spiritualist, and she used to talk about how the earth was preparing for the next level of spirituality. But unfortunately, her teachings said that there isn't enough energy, that this earth that we're living on is no longer available for the level of vibration that would be needed to bring us to the next level. And she used to talk about, some of us maybe going and getting a new planet ready and stuff like that. So I definitely feel that there are people among us. I don't feel I'm one of them, but I definitely feel there are people among us who are here to help us raise that level of spirituality, to help us to connect with our spirituality in a deeper way. Okay. And, I don't want to get into politics or anything different, but, everybody that you see in life that you feel is doing something wrong, I think that our belief that they are somehow doing themselves a disservice for the spiritual life that they will have to face afterwards. And it's nothing to do with Catholicism at all, or any kind of religion. It really is just about believing in life after life, okay? Believing that there's more after this life. And I have just a fundamental belief, and not even for the religious upbringing that I had, just in spirituality, that, there will be more after this life, and that, the way we're treating people in this life, that we will have to atone for that in the next life. So people need to be more aware of their spirituality. We need to be more aware of the things that we need to work on. And it's a big part of numerology. So for any of you, if you've ever looked at my website, when I'm doing a psychic reading, I incorporate numerology into that reading. Okay, so I'm just opening my drinks bottle again because there's a lot of talking here, and I'm so thirsty. Bear with me, guys. Okay, so what was I saying? I can't even remember now where I was. But I was talking about people in Ireland and spirituality. So somebody tell me what I was talking about before I started to take a drink, because I was apologizing then. My God, I didn't realize they were so many. Numerology. Thank you, Carrie. Yes. So numerology. There's a thing in numerology that I do. Now, when I incorporate numerology into my psychic readings, I only use it for forecasting. Okay. So if you were to have a psychic reading with me, you would get 3 years 3 years numerology. So it's a forecast, a month by month forecast of what's coming up for each month for the coming 3 years. Okay. And also a synopsis of what's coming up year by year for 5 years. Okay. So it gives you a good outlook as to where you're going forward. Okay. So part of numerology, numerology, the full chart, that could be 80 or 100 pages long, okay, depending on, your name and stuff. So numerology goes back 2000 years, guys. It's the oldest way that people used to foretell the future. And you might learn, or you might remember, I beg your pardon, learning about a guy called Pythagoras at school. I know we did his maths, Pythagoras' theorem, and all that kind of stuff. But he invented numerology, okay? And so he was the first one that invented numerology. So a full numerology chart or report could be 80 to 100 pages. And there's an awful lot of information there that I feel in this day and age confuses people. Okay, people aren't going to sit down and read 80 pages. Okay, so I use it just for the forecast, but there is a part of it that I do and I give to people when I get give the forecast. It's called Karmic Lessons. Okay, now we're all familiar with karma. And what immediately springs to people's minds when I mention karmic lessons, they mistake it for karmic debt. Okay. So, first of all, karmic lessons and karmic debt, these are entrenched in the idea, as Pythagoras would have had a deep belief in, and so do I. We both believe in reincarnation. Okay. So, that obviously brings out the whole fact that we believe in life after death and we believe in a second chance. Okay. And it's our choice whether we take that second chance in the spirit world or we choose to come back to earth. And all of us are here because we chose to come back. Okay. So karmic debt would be, say, for example, if you had murdered somebody in a previous life. Okay. So people like Hitler, Ted Bundy, whoever you can think of, any kind of murderers or, dictators or anything like that. Anybody who's treated somebody badly carries a lot of karmic debt. And this needs to be atoned for in the spirit world. Okay. So you need to make it right. So whether they choose so say, for example, if we take Hitler, for example, right? So when Hitler goes to the spirit world, and I probably spoke about this before, so I apologize if I'm boring anybody, but when somebody like Hitler passes away and he leaves his physical body and returns to the spirit world, he is a pure soul again, okay? And I've talked about this in the past, that we don't take the physical ailments with us. And definitely what the likes of Hitler and Ted Bundy and them would have is a physical defect in their brain. Okay. But when they return to the spirit world, my belief is that they return as pure spirits again. But they would have an epiphany at that point and they would think, oh my God, did I really do that? Okay. So they would then, we all go through this. Some people call it the hall of healing, some people call it the welcoming hall, or there's lots of different places, but basically it is kind of the first place, like an airport, I suppose, that you arrive at when you get to the spirit world, where you're greeted by your loved ones and your spirit guides and all that kind of stuff. And, we have to take time out early on to go through what we've been through in life, what we've done, what we didn't do, what we could have done better, what we should have done better, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So we would have to go through all of that. And when he goes through it, of course, he will obviously have to go through what he did to people in concentration camps, as he made his way through Europe, killing people, taking over cities and stuff like that. And he will get the choice. Do you want to be reincarnated and come back to Earth? Or do you want to stay in the spirit world and atone there for everything that you've done in, the earthly world? So if he, for example, chose to come back, okay, it's possible. I'm not going to say for sure because I don't make these decisions, but it's possible that when he's reincarnated, for example, he could have been reincarnated as a citizen of Yugoslavia or Serbia. Well, Serbia is part of the old FYR Yugoslavia, but he would most likely have been maybe a victim of war in some country. Okay. Or he could stay in the spirit world, choose not to come back to this earth, and in the spirit world help people that have been killed by war or suffered, through war. And he would help them to acclimatize, to settle in their new world, in the spirit world. And, so in some way that he would help those people, but he would definitely have to work hard to atone for everything that he did when he was here. Okay. So this is the spirituality that people have forgotten about, that what we're doing here is just like a dress rehearsal. Okay. And we do have to build ourselves up. Now, I'm not perfect, and don't think that just because I'm saying this means that I'm perfect and that I live my life perfectly. That's not the case, because I'm only human, and we all err. I haven't killed anybody yet, but I've been quite close to it, I'm sure, several times throughout my life. So please don't think I'm pontificating. I'm just telling you my understanding of where I'm coming from. So yeah, so part of what I do when I'm doing the numerology is what I call karmic lessons. Okay. Hey Megan, thanks for joining us. It's what I call karmic lessons. Okay. So a karmic lesson is something that you have to achieve in this lifetime in order to prepare yourself spiritually for the next life. Okay. So, a couple of things on that. It doesn't mean that when you have achieved everything that you die. Okay. And it's normally just a few things. I've yet to see anybody with more than 4 karmic lessons that need to be attended to in this lifetime. Okay. So it's never a big list of things, although there is a list of maybe about 20 things, but generally I've never seen anybody with anything more than 4. So there are little things that we need to look out for in our lives. So some people get, to be maybe more empathic towards people, have a bit more sympathy for what other people are going through, and a bit more understanding for people's struggles. There's even one in there that says that you need to be better with money. So there's a lot of different things that are in there. So there are things that we need to fix within our personalities, if you like, that will prepare us for returning to the spirit world. Okay. So when we get these things right in our lives, and I'm not saying that will be Mother Teresa. Okay. It's not going to that extent. It's little things that you can look at in your everyday life. Okay. But it will help you prepare for when you arrive in the spirit world. Okay, so you will have some of the work done already. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So it's part of what I do in the numerology. Okay, and I give people that when they get the psychic reading, and even having that long, the forecast of what to look forward to over the coming 3 years, it really does help people. People come back to me. The people have been coming back to me because I changed the reading a couple of years ago, and I've been doing it a lot. And people have come back to me and said how helpful it's been over the years. So, for me, it's always good to get that kind of feedback, because you want to feel that you're doing stuff that help people. Now, somebody came back here. So Carrie said, if you were an abuser, you'd come back as a victim of abuse. And that's certainly one possibility, okay? That you could be a victim of abuse. You could be a social worker dealing with people who have been affected by abuse, so that you see the full range of side effects, I suppose, if you want to call them that. And I'm not belittling what anybody's gone through, but would you call them side effects or the result of the harm that you've inflicted? Okay. So I see somebody commented that their heart is breaking at the moment with depression, and it's nice to be reminded of what is around us. And I love that comment, because as I said, I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I have my days still. It took me a long time to come around from that, and a long time to kind of get back on my feet and all that kind of stuff. But I still have my days where I don't want to get out of bed, and I don't want to engage, and I don't want to do things. So I know exactly how you feel. Okay. And I really do think that, for people who've been listening in, they know that I get sick a lot. I get chest infections, throat infections, ear infections. And my own feeling is that a lot of this can come from stress and anxiety as well, so I know exactly how you're feeling, and I'm glad you shared it with us. And I'm glad that this is a space where you felt that you could share it with us. So, I really feel chuffed that you're here with us, and thank you so much. Emily says she's severe anxiety attacks when I have to go and see my mother. Okay. So there's obviously some healing that needs to be done there, Emily. And I know Emily's a regular person here. You're a regular attender here on the podcast, and I really appreciate that, Emily. So there's obviously something, some history there between you and your mother, something within your relationship that brings out that level of fear. Because let's face it, anxiety comes from fear, doesn't it? Okay. Um, so there must be something there. So if you're not aware of what it is, Emily, I can't recommend enough hypnotherapy. I'd say counseling because I'm not necessarily.
Hello.
Hello, so somebody's come on here.
I'm
What?
sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Well, how can I help you?
I was just going to ask you quite a simple question. I'm from the UK, England, and I hope
In
you're doing very
Birmingham
well.
kind of area, are you?
I'm from Birmingham, yes.
I know the accent. I lived in London long enough
Oh,
to know the accent.
well, lovely to meet you. And
You too.
I've got my own following on here, like
Cool.
I just want to ask you something that, like, with the afterlife, like my dad always speaks about it, and
Yeah,
and well, like, do you believe in? Yeah, yeah, you've got to be open minded, haven't you? You know,
absolutely.
and like me, like I've always said, I dip my toes into every like conspiracy theory, or when you get conspiracy theoryologists and whatnot, like in all different aspects.
Sure.
But you kind of you, I take it on board, but I will not mock them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I hate the term conspiracy theorist. To me,
No,
it's
but no. There's certain things because some people come out like they have ideas. Some people like when they go away from kind of facts and go into fiction a little bit. Like they go a little bit extra.
I get
If you
what you're
know where I'm coming
saying,
from.
but and I'm
Mm,
going to say it here because, and I think
well,
the words, the term conspiracy theorist has been bandied around so much over the last couple of years. So I think it's important to say that people believe different things and they have their reasons for believing it. So I would
mm,
never rubbish it, and I'd never call it a conspiracy theory. We all have our personal beliefs, and I would never take
yes.
that away from
No.
any.
Like I say, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one.
What was your point?
But my point was is that do you really believe, to be seriously honest with you, like
Hmm.
my dad does, that when you die,
Uh
do
huh.
you really believe that you get reincarnated or something after that?
I do. Yeah, it's a big belief of mine. 100%. Yeah.
I hope so. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that.
Now, as I was saying, I don't know have you just joined, but
I have
um
just joined. Sorry about that.
no, you're
That's why
fine.
I'm a little bit sorry about
You're all right. We were just talking about reincarnation, and it's my
that.
belief that we get a choice. Okay. So obviously it depends on how you've lived your life, how many times you've been here. Some people are ready to stay there. Some people need to atone for what they've done in this life. So we were talking about Hitler and
Okay.
yeah, and how he would have reacted when he returned to the spirit
Mm.
world, and how he would have realized that he did so much wrong, and how he would have to atone for those things. But he would still get a choice, the same as any of us. Does he want to return to earth and make up for what he did? So maybe he comes back as some kind of humanitarian, or maybe a victim of war or something like this. Or does he want to stay in the spirit world and atone for what he's done? Okay. So he could help people, maybe displaced by war, killed by war, suffered, through war, stuff like that. So maybe he will help those people when they return to the spirit world to deal with what they've been through. So I do believe that we have a choice. I think Earth at the moment is the only place where we don't have a choice. When you return to heaven, you will have a choice. Okay. So if you choose to return to Earth, then it's reincarnation. Obviously, if you choose to stay in the spirit world, then you work hard over there to achieve your next level of spirituality. Okay.
To be honest, I think that most of us will be in that spirit world for a little bit of a while due to the circumstances in life.
Mm.
I'm not sure, and the decisions that you make because
Well, it
it's hard
depends
in this day and
on,
age
it
in the
depends
way
on kind
that
of
things are.
It depends on what you've done in this life, okay? And
Yeah,
you do
that's what
read
I mean.
stories, and there's a lot of them on YouTube, and I watch them, and I love, hearing them because, I suppose maybe I'm naive in that I just think, why would people lie about these things? But, like for example, there's one girl, and she says that she is Anne Frank reincarnated. Okay. And when her mother took her to Anne Frank's house, where she was hidden for all those years,
Yeah, I
um,
remember Anne Frank. Oh
yeah,
my god.
and she was able to tell even the curator there in the museum about things that should be in the room that were now disappeared, and even down to some of the posters that Anne Frank had on the walls. And they'd actually been taken away when she was there. They'd been taken away to be restored because people had pulled at them and that over the years. So they were gone to another museum to be fixed up, to be brought back. But she was able to tell in such detail, even about things that weren't on display, that people were saying that there really is something to this girl. She was only a young girl when she went there for the first time. So some of the information that there's a lovely one. I'd have to find the link and put it on my Facebook page for you guys. About a
I've
little
just
boy.
followed you, Sadie. I have just followed you because
Thank you. I appreciate that.
no, I see that you're quite new, but you've got a hell of a
Yeah.
lot of listeners. What app do you use in order to bring your listeners in, woman?
So they're on Podbean. So I suppose I advertise on my Facebook page and on my TikTok. So I
Okay.
think that's where everybody has come from. Yeah.
I'm a Podbean like advocate.
Are you?
Yeah,
And
everyone knows me.
and tell everybody here, what's your show called? Do you have a show on Podbean?
It's caps, yeah, it's caps. It's just
That's
caps,
the
and
name of your
it
show.
says it's like let's go, and we talk about all numerous amount of things. Like UK is going to be in lockdown by Friday, this Friday. I
I
don't
was
want to go
listening
too
to
deep
Boris. Yeah,
into
I was listening
anything
to
that
Boris.
nobody wants to talk about. I watched it too, and
Yeah.
he's a bumbling fucking. Sorry to swear. He's a
No, you're
bumbling
fine.
idiot. He's a bumbling idiot, and
I might
it
join in
just
your show and
annoys me.
talk about that in more detail because I have a lot of opinions on it.
Yeah, and I
And
don't want to go there, but
you're
yeah,
fine.
it's like all I want to do is make sure my children, my 4 children, are okay, and I'm
Yeah.
still earning a coin and making sure that the Christmas
That's the
goes well.
best that any of us
You
can
know?
hope for. And I really
Yeah,
feel, and I was actually saying this to my husband today, I really feel like we're living our purgatory at the moment.
yeah, we're
I
really
really
on
do.
it. Even if you have the jabs or not, it don't matter, does it?
It
It
doesn't
really
matter to
don't.
me.
It
As
doesn't
long as
matter.
you've made your own choice
My
and you
mum
haven't
and
been
dad have
forced.
had. I'm not no anti-vax. I'm nothing like that. I genuinely like. If you've had the jabs, if you're not, I don't care. But
No.
what's happening now is that it's scary, and I hope to God all I can say is that
Yeah.
it smooths out. I
Yeah.
suppose that's all we
And
can
that's
look
the
for
best we can hope for
positive.
because we all want to live a peaceful life, don't we, guys? That's the
Mm-hmm.
best that we want to do and to
Yeah,
build ourselves up for the next level of spirituality.
definitely. Well, this is it because you know what? You
Yeah.
know what? We are the people, man.
We definitely are.
We are.
So I'm just trying to
Positive
see.
vibes always.
Yes, absolutely. Maggie's just saying
You're
when you.
lovely, by the way. I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going
Okay,
to leave
thank
you
you so
alone.
much for
But
contributing. I really
honestly,
appreciate it.
thank you so much for accepting my call, to be honest with you.
Not at
You
all. You're
don't
more
know
than
me from
welcome.
Adam, but you're a lovely person. I've followed you,
Thank
and
you.
hopefully I can have a chat with you one other day. And everyone in the
Absolutely.
room, I hope you have a beautiful Christmas, seriously, and a happy New Year. Because my birthday is on New Year's Eve, the 31st of
Ah,
December. I'm a Capricorn, defender of the wronged. I hope you're
yeah.
all beautiful and good and you relax and don't take nothing too seriously in this life because you know what?
We'll try
We're
not to.
all we're all counting down. I
No,
love you
that's
all.
true.
Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
I'll see you
Bye.
soon. Bye.
And guys, just so you know, I am open to people if you're on the the app, you can just send a request to come in and I'll have you on because I want this to be about a conversation and it gets boring when I'm just reading out the comments. And that gentleman was such a nice gentleman. And even though I don't want to get into and I don't want to Oh, that's okay, Maggie. I don't want to get too deep into that particular conversation because we all have our own opinions on it. And I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with whatever people decide. But my whole thing is about choice. And that's why when I'm talking about reincarnation, I talk about the choice that we have. You know, how deep, how much do you want to atone for the things that you've done? And I think, it's probably a quicker way, from what I understand, to come back to this earth, kind of fall on your sword, if you like, than to do it in the spirit world. But obviously, the spirit world is a lot safer for us, because we're always scared of the things that we'll have to kind of put up with, really, in this life. And this life can be really, really cruel. So, guys, we've 10 minutes left. Does anybody want to ask me a question? And I loved the way Maggie put it. Maggie said, we're living on the edge at the minute. We can't plan anything or look forward to anything. And I do feel like, I can't remember, a doozer actually is what I said here the other day. My kids used to watch this program when they were small, like a cartoon type thing on telly. And there was these little workers that used to do the engine of the bus these little characters used to drive around in, and they were called the doozers. And I said, I really feel like I'm a doozer. All I'm doing at the moment is working and paying tax. I can't go on holidays. I can't go to a restaurant. I can't go to a pub. And I said, that's why I feel like I'm really physically living out my purgatory on earth. Do I do private readings? I absolutely do. Yeah. So just go to my website. You'll find all the information on there. Michael Newton's Journey of Souls. Never heard of it, but I'm writing it down before I lose all the comments. So Michael Newton, Journey of Souls, guys. It's been recommended there by Carrie. Journey of Souls. I have a list of books that I'm trying to read, and now one that I got this week that was recommended to me. Thank you, Caps. One that I got this week, I bought it from Amazon, but it was recommended to me. I can't show it to you obviously on here, but it's called The Having. Okay, and it's The Secret Art of Feeling and Growing Rich. Now, I'm not sure I'll ever be rich. However, what this book really is about is the law of attraction. Okay. And it's about how gratitude can increase what you draw to yourself in life. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm in the middle of reading Napoleon Hill's book again, because that's one of my favorites. Okay. What's my thoughts on the law of attraction? Megan, I'll come back to that in 1 second. Carrie's just joined us. Hey, Carrie, how are you?
Hi, Sandie. How are you?
Not a bother. Tell us where you are.
I'm in Waterford, delivering the milk in the wind and the rain last night.
Are you blown asunder, are you?
It wasn't as bad, but it was bad enough. Quite a few trees down and Christmas decorations blown all over the place.
Oh, no, after putting them all up.
Well, not mine, but in customers' houses everywhere. I was batting down. Listen, I just wanted to come on quickly just to talk about Michael Newton's Journey of Souls.
Tell us.
Read it. It's similar in veins of what you were talking about tonight. You're talking about, going back in different lives and stuff and having to pay recompense for your next, for what you've done in one life for the next life. Absolutely. Michael Newton, Journey of Souls, I came across him by accident. He got into past life regression. I know you had Paul on talking about that 2 weeks ago. But he went back further doing that, and he came across like a life between lives, as what he calls it. So like every soul, there's a soul world, for want of a better term. I'm probably not explaining this right at all.
No, I think I don't know if everybody here is kind of Christian and understands what I mean when I say purgatory. But is it kind of like what we as Christians were taught is purgatory? Is that kind of?
I don't think so, because purgatory is like an atonement. This isn't so much as an atonement as a base. A base home. So like you're there in this world between worlds. This where souls go between their lives. And then everybody, you've heard of your soulmate, but according to this, you have like a whole group of soulmates. So you carry them on in the next life and the next life and the next life. But you choose what your next life is and what your next life is. Like
Oh,
what you were saying as well is like if you had to atone, or if
yeah.
you were at the other end of the spectrum, we're talking about Hitler, so then you'd be,
Yes.
you're at one end of the spectrum, so your next life you'd be at the opposite end of the spectrum. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yes, yes. Oh,
So
I'm
it's
definitely going to
everything.
get that book because that's just right up my street
It
now.
really is. Now, for anybody that don't read that's listening, he actually does read his books on YouTube. Um,
Oh,
yes, yeah. So if you want to plug in your earphones and you were doing the hoovering, you can
yeah.
stick him on and
Listen to it.
listen to him on YouTube. I think I was just like I was hoping you had read him, and I was like would like
No,
to know what your
never
take
heard
on
of them.
it is. But
Yeah.
it's he just found this like world between worlds, like between lives, not
Yes.
between lives. So that's all I want to say. Anyway.
And thank you so much for sharing that because I know I'm going to be going on to Amazon straight after here and ordering it for myself. Now, I do have a whole shelf of books that I need to get through. And Carrie, you're welcome to stay on. You don't have to pop off, but you're welcome to stay on if you're going to stay connected anyway. But somebody mentioned Lorna Byrne, okay? And I met Lorna. I attended one of her shows and I met her after her show and we had a conversation. And she's just one of the most calming energies I think I've ever come across in my life. Have you heard of her, Carrie?
I haven't, no.
So
Just
she's
writing it down now. I
no
just
relation to me now, unfortunately. But she actually lives in Kilkenny, which isn't too far from where I live. And she communicates with angels. Okay. And so she talks a lot about the angels and what messages they have for us and how they can help us and all this kind of stuff. So I do have both of her books. I bought them as well when they were recommended to me. I think I bought one. I think one of them is signed that I may have bought it at the show. And I have another one then that I bought. Now they're on my reading list for a long time. I haven't got round to them yet. But I definitely, someone saying that she is a really lovely person here as well, that she's fascinating and she's amazing live. And I didn't get a chance because I was working, but she actually did do a live show online. So she did a show from Belfast there not too long ago, where obviously in Belfast up to recently they didn't have to wear masks to those kind of events and there wasn't those restrictions. So she did a show in Belfast, but you could buy a ticket and watch it online also. So I didn't get to see that one because I had another event scheduled myself for the same night. But if you can hear her speak, please do, because she's fascinating. And just hearing about the angels and the way they work is so fascinating. And what I was going to say, even I saw her actually in Limerick and we were in Thomond Park, the rugby ground, and we were up in one of the rooms at the top and there's a huge window that overlooks the pitch. And just while she was talking and she just looked out the window and she said, even when I'm sitting here, she said, I can see angels falling from heaven outside. And I just thought, oh my God, that's amazing, and, sure, we don't ever think that what we do is amazing. I know that I never think that what I do is amazing because one of the people that was with her, when I met her, I was talking to Lorna after the show and I was talking to her and she was talking about having seen angels and all this. And I just turned and I said to the other woman, but I could see a man standing beside you on the stage, and I could see this guy. And it was actually the woman's son who had passed away. And she actually mentioned me in a piece she wrote for a newspaper because she's a journalist. And she mentioned me. She had a reading with me afterwards and we connected with her son. And she recommended me in the newspaper. And that really kind of got people, tuned into me. So anything like that is amazing. But my point was that whenever we do anything in this life, I don't know about other people, I never think that anything that I do is amazing. But when somebody else does it, I think it's absolutely brilliant. I don't know. I don't know, is it just me? Jazz is saying, yes, she's met her Lorna too, and she's so calming to be around. Even if you're rushing or you're under pressure for something, you just kind of, when you're in her presence, you just feel more grounded. I don't know what it is about her. Okay, so I know people are asking, Angels in My Hair and Love from Heaven. That must be the second book that I have. But like so many other books have kind of come in front of it. I just think I'd love 2 months off to just sit and read, Now, somebody asked about the law of attraction. And what I think, because it's 11 p.m., I am going to schedule the law of attraction for next week's show. Who would like to talk about the law of attraction next week? Not necessarily spirituality, but something that I've done a lot of work. And at the moment, I am doing a program under a guy called Bob Proctor. So I can tell you a lot about that next week. Yes, definitely. Okay. Because I did a workshop just a couple of weeks ago. I did it on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, depending on what time zone you're in, and had an awful lot of people actually. And we were preparing for 2022, and we were doing some exercises to bring in lots of positivity into our lives for 2022. So I can definitely talk next week about the law of attraction. So that's what we will do next week, the law of attraction. And I'm also going to talk about gratitude as part of that as well. Okay. So just before I finish up, let's give out the name from Carrie. If I can, I've written it down to her. So it's Michael Newton, Newton, and his book is called Journey of Souls. And don't buy out all of Amazon before I get online, guys. Okay, because I am going to go on and order it for myself, and I definitely now one that I always recommend, I will type it here into the comments, is 7 Steps to Eternity by a guy called Stephen Turoff. So let me type it: 7 Steps to Eternity by Stephen with a PH Turoff, Turoff. Okay. And you can get it from either Amazon or the Book Depository. And I just actually happen to have a copy of it here in front of me. I bought several of them to give as gifts to the people that did my mediumship program recently. So this book won't be the best written book that you've ever read. Okay, so for any of you out there that are grammar Nazis, please don't take offense by something in this not being properly written or whatever, because he just wrote this book himself and put it out there. So it is the story of a soldier that was killed during the Battle of the Somme. And he came and he connected with Stephen and told him his story about what happened to him after he transitioned from the earth life to the spirit life. And of course, it's a tiny bit different in that it was during a time of war. So there were many people transitioning at the same time. Okay. But it does talk a lot about how we perceive things when we cross to the spirit world, how what we see initially isn't too different from the life that we know here. Because if you were to enter somewhere that would be completely different, obviously you would go, you would go into shock to see everything so different, and if we were to see everything at that spiritual level. So they do give us time to acclimatize. So it's all in that book, which isn't expensive. It's about $9.99. Okay, so there's another book recommendation, and I will have a few more for you next week when we're talking about the law of attraction. So guys, for now, for this week, I am going to love you and leave you. And thank you all so much for joining, and for Carrie and Kaz, who joined in as speakers, and I want to encourage that more. So thank you so much, Carrie. I see you're still here with me. And I would, as I say, if you have something to say, please do come on and say it, guys, because people get bored listening to me, I'm sure. And I will see you next week. So bring your pencil and your paper with you, and we will talk about how you can manifest things in your own life. Okay, guys, thank you for joining. Jazz, I'll be on in about 5 minutes. Absolutely. Okay, so I was just telling Jazz that I will be on TikTok in about 5 minutes or so after I've ordered my book. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you then. See you next week. Take care. Where am I? Oh, gosh. Now.
Discussing everything about the afterlife.